Hi, my name is Jennifer Quintana-Quiroz, and my country is South Korea. First, with the historical development of the state, August 15, 1948, South Korea was officially founded as a Republic of Korea after liberation from Japanese colonial rule. The Korean War, North Korea invaded South Korea in 1950, triggering a war that threw in the U.S., China, and many others. It ended in the 1953 armistice, leaving Korea divided at the 38th parallel. It had 6 republics, which refers to the 6 constitutional phases South Korea has experienced since 1948. Each republic marks a major shift in political structure. For example, the First Republic was led by Syngman Rhee and ended after the April Revolution. The Third Republic marked the start of Park Chung-hee's rule and economic growth under authoritarianism. And then the Sixth Republic is what they have now, which began after pro-democracy protests, forced direct presidential elections, and constitutional reform. And then this is the map, the South Korean flag, and then the official name. Here, South Korea is close to North Korea to the north, China to the west, and South Japan. And then the flag is called the Taegukgi, with the white background representing peace, purity, and Korean people's love. Red circle meaning yang, blue meaning yin, and then the 4 black trigrams, or the lines around it, mean sky, water, fire, and earth. And then that's South Korea's website. The next political regime has a democratic republic. South Korea is a democratic republic, meaning power comes from the people through elections. After decades of authoritarian rule, it transitioned to full democracy in 1987. Today, it holds regular competitive elections and guarantees civil rights in its constitution, though political mistrust and polarization remain challenges. As a president-led government, which he's both head of state and head of government, elected every 5 years with no re-election, and the president has strong executive powers overseeing the military, appointing ministers, and proposing legislation. Multi-party system, 2 major parties dominate, the People Power Party and the Democratic Party. South Korea has a multi-party system. Smaller parties like the Justice Party can influence debates, especially during coalition building or tight elections. This makes political competition dynamic, but often unstable. Also has 3 branches of government. It's divided into the executive, legislative, and judicial. The National Police Agency enforces laws. The National Assembly makes laws, and courts, like the Constitutional Court, interpret them. This separation is meant to prevent abuse of power, though conflicts between branches often arise. We also have checks and balances, which each branch has ways to limit the other's power. For example, the National Assembly can impeach the president. Courts can overturn laws that violate the Constitution, and the president can veto bills. While the system is built to ensure balance, intense partisanship sometimes strains these limits. And we have political conflict and competition, the DP versus the PPP. South Korea's 2 major parties are in constant competition, the Liberal Democratic Party and the Conservative People Power Party, battle over everything from economic policy to how to handle North Korea. Cooperation is rare even during national crises, fueling policy gridlock and political instability. And then President versus Parliament. While South Korea is a presidential system, the National Assembly holds significant legislative authority. When the president and the assembly are controlled by opposing parties, conflict is frequent. Legislative standoffs stall reforms, and impeachment threats become political weapons rather than last resorts. We also have strategic voting, with elections in South Korea are increasingly about defeating the other side rather than supporting policies. Many voters pick candidates seen as most likely to stop their least favorite party from winning. This mindset reduces room for moderation and drives further polarization in both public discourse and policymaking. And then party leaders under investigation, corruption, and criminal charges have become common in political battles. Both major parties have had high-profile leaders under investigation, like former President Park Chung-hee, which was impeached in 2017, and current opposition leader Lee Jae-myung. These cases often become flashpoints in partisan conflict used to discredit rivals. And then the table was taken in February as a web survey, and the question was, do you approve or disapprove of President Yoon's performance, which is their current president. And society. They have an education-centered culture. Students often attend school from early morning until late at night, followed by private cram schools called Hagwons. The university entrance exam is so important that even flights are grounded to reduce noise. In 2023, the government invested over $70 billion in education, but this pressure has led to burnout, and South Korea has one of the highest teen suicide rates among OECD countries. Second Life, cities like Seoul offer free high-speed Wi-Fi in subways and public areas, and services like a KakaoTalk are essential to daily life. In 2020, South Korea was the first country to roll out nationwide 5G. Senior citizens are encouraged to use new digital tools, which has sparked discussions about digital alienation for older populations. Respect and hierarchy. Respect based on age and status is central to Korean culture. In workplaces, younger employees defer to seniors, even if they disagree. Language reflects this hierarchy. Someone older must be addressed with honor epithets like samdaenim. While traditional, some young people are starting to challenge these norms, especially in creative or tech industries. Beauty and appearance. South Korea is a global beauty hub, and Gangnam cosmetic surgery clinics are common, and procedures like double eyelid surgery are seen as routine. Appearance can affect job prospects, as some companies even require photos with job applications. While the skincare industry brings in billions in revenue, it also fuels narrow beauty standards and body image issues. Political economy. Export-led growth. South Korea's economy relies heavily on exports like electronics and cars. Samsung alone accounts for 15% of the economy. In 2023, exports made up nearly 40% of global GDP, driving rapid growth but also increasing vulnerability to global market challenges. Government-business relations. Large conglomerates called chaebols received strong government support during Korea's industrialization. However, scandals like the 2017 bribery case involving Samsung and former President Park Geun-hye revealed issues with their power, prompting ongoing reform efforts. Labor market structure. Youth unemployment is around 6%, with many young people stuck in unstable contract jobs despite high education. Economic insecurity contributes to trends like delayed marriage and lower birth rates, which may affect future growth. Innovation in tech. South Korea spends about 4.8% of their GDP on R&D, leading globally, and semiconductors through companies like Samsung and SK Hynix. The 2022 $450 billion semiconductor plan aims to strengthen tech leadership amid global competition. And foreign relations with the world. U.S. strategic alliance. South Korea's security depends heavily on its alliance with the U.S. About 28,000 American troops are stationed there as a deterrent against North Korea. The two countries regularly hold large-scale military exercises, like the Freedom Shield drills in 2023. This partnership extends beyond defense, including strong trade ties and diplomatic support in international forums. North Korea policy. South Korea's approach to North Korea mixes diplomacy and deterrence. The 2018 Panmunjom Summit raised hopes for peace and denuclearization, but North Korea's nuclear development have stalled progress. Seoul balances sanctions and humanitarian aid, maintaining open channels for dialogue amid ongoing regional uncertainty. China economic partnership. China is South Korea's largest trading partner, with nearly 25% of exports heading there. However, relations became tense after South Korea deployed the U.S. THAAD missile defense system in 2017, leading to unofficial Chinese trade restrictions that hurt Korean companies. South Korea balances between economic dependence on China and security commitments to the U.S. Relations with Japan remain complex due to unresolved historical grievances. Despite these tensions, both countries cooperate on shared security challenges like North Korea's missile threats and are important U.S. allies in the region. Multilateral diplomacy. South Korea actively participates in global organizations like the United Nations, G20, and APEC. It contributes to peacekeeping missions, climate change initiatives, and global health efforts. South Korea pledged $200 million to UN climate funds in 2023 and supports developing countries through KOICA, showcasing its growing role as a responsible international actor. And current issues. Low birth rate and aging population. South Korea has the world's lowest fertility rate, just 0.72 births per woman in 2023. The government offers cash incentives and housing benefits, but young people cite job insecurity and high living costs as barriers to having children.
9 minutes.
Gender equality and women's rights. South Korea ranks low in gender equality among OECD countries. Women face wage gaps, underrepresentation politics, and social pressure to quit work after marriage. Movements like Escape the Corset challenge beauty standards, while feminist activism faces both support and strong pushback. Housing crisis, especially in Seoul, have skyrocketed over the past decade, putting homeownership out of reach for men. Young couples struggle to afford apartments, and demand has outpaced supply. Government attempts at regulation and tax reforms had mixed success in calming the market. Political polarization. South Korea is experiencing growing political division, especially between progressives and conservatives. contentious issues often split public opinion. Scandals like President UNICEF fuels low approval ratings amid policy controversies further fuel mistrust in political leadership.